Hello and welcome to another episode of VanTech Tuesday, in which I try and answer your questions on anything tech related to do with camper vans, motorhomes, RVs, caravans, whatever you might call them, boats, anything basically that runs off 12 volts. So one of the questions I'm going to deal with first relates to the video I did recently, which was my hookup connection. A lot of people asked what is the rating that you can put through that hookup connection. And basically, as a campsite, really the maximum hookup that your van is designed to cope with is 16 amps. Then that really is 16 amps. However, as most plugs are rated at 13 amps, obviously really 13 amps is probably the most you're going to run through it, and maybe even 10 amps at that. I mean, like Mandy runs a coffee maker which is about 1.3-ish kilowatts, and that is 10 amp rated. So maybe a hairdryer or hair straighteners are probably the same kind of rating. Now the next question I get asked an awful lot too, and it is that I want to use a hookup system on my van for 240 for the odd occasion that I go to a campsite. What's the best way to do this on a budget? And really, it's something like that. That will just simply give you the ability to hook up and get you a breaker, which is important, and 3 sockets. Obviously you can squeak that under your door or something like that, bring it into the van so you got power and everything's all right there. And I know quite a few people who powered their vans on hookup just like that. Dave Bertolini, One Man Is Whippet, is one of them. So that's perfectly okay, and they're dirt cheap as well. So this one on Amazon right now is 30 quid. And therefore there's no extra wiring in the van, there's no messing around with like that. You just buy one of those and plug in your power as and when you need anything inside the van. So the question I get an awful lot is, John, I'm about to buy a Victron BMW 712, just like yours. Any chance you can do a video on how to wire it? And I've not done a video on it because it's so simple. Basically you've got 2 connections and a wire, and as soon as you buy it and you get it, you'll see why there's no point doing a video on it, because you get everything in the booklet that tells you how to wire it. So you have 2 sides to the shunt, and the shunt is the bit of electronics that actually measures the load. It goes on the negative side of your power leads. So on one side of the shunt it'll say load, and you put all your negatives there. Preferably you'd be your negative that goes straight into your fuse box, and then everything else would go into your fuse box, so it makes it nice and neat. And on the other side of the shunt it says battery, and that just goes to the negative pole of your battery, or if you joined multiple batteries together it goes to the negatives combined of those batteries. Then there are 2 other leads that you get in the box, and they're to monitor your leisure battery voltage level and also your starter battery monitor. You can buy other things like temperature sensors and things like that as well, and those click in the little green connectors that go on the top of the 712. Other than that, there's a tiny little cable that's like an RJ11 cable that then goes to the little controller, and that allows you to Bluetooth from your phone and also sort of read out what's going on with your batteries, the load and that kind of stuff. It really is so easy. The only thing I'd say, and this is probably the most intriguing part that no one's ever asked me this question, is you have to actually set up all sorts of parameters in there to do with your batteries. So before you buy a Victron 712, make sure you know lots of parameters about your battery, because the 712 software will need to know that. And it's all to do with the way that the battery charges, its float levels and all that kind of stuff. That's crucial to punch that into the software and set it up so that when you go in there and it says I've got 98% left or 79% left, that's accurate, that it's properly measured and it's accurate. So get your parameters to your battery, whatever type of battery it is. Ask your supplier for the parameters to set up the BMW 712, and then you'll know all about it. And then crucially from that you should check it. You can actually see straight away what the voltage level is, and you can check that against charts that are available online for particular types of batteries, whether it's AGM, lead acid or lithium, and that'll give you a little bit of an insight then. If the BMW 712 is saying you've got 75% left, and you go and look at one of the charts, and for your battery actually that voltage should be about 80%, you can actually manually readjust and you can teach it what's going on. Now the best thing you can also do is make sure that you discharge your batteries to around about sort of 50-55%, and then fully charge them to 100%, disconnect every load, which could be just kind of like, disconnecting the 12 volt supply to your batteries, and then do the SOC, and that is the state of charge. Reset it to 100% within the software, and that's quite a crucial thing. It might take you a couple of goes before you get that right, and then from that you'll be able to more kind of understand what's going on with your BMV display and what it's telling you, and it's going to more accurately tell you the percentage of power you've got left in your batteries. Here's another question as well. John, is it possible to use a solar panel originally designed to go on a house roof? Yes, it is. Pretty much solar panels are solar panels. There are two factors to bear in mind. Again, it's going back to the Ohm's law little triangle, and that is to understand the voltage and the amp rating of your solar panel, so that when you connect it up to your solar controller, you know what to expect from that solar controller, so you don't overload it in some way, or you're not buying a kind of like an overpriced solar controller that you need for a small panel and you're wasting your money, that kind of thing really. Here's another question I get an awful lot about inverters, and that is, how do I actually wire a socket in my camper van or motorhome back to the inverter? And that's so easy. Most inverters come with two sockets or one socket on the back, and you would just simply wire a plug to that and then wire that straight into the back of the other socket. It's that simple really. There is nothing really difficult about wiring into a decent quality inverter. The inverters I've got normal 3-pin sockets on the back, so I've got two circuits that I can wire around the van if I wanted to have it that way. Or as I've just got one cable that goes to the auto switch, and then the auto switch basically powers the van up. I've just taken the fuse out to the onboard battery charger, so it doesn't bother to charge it when it's seeing that, and we run our fridge on it. During the day when the sun's out, we just run the fridge purely on solar power 12 volt inverter, and that saves us on LPG. Such is it a time at the moment where people don't like camper vans and motorhomes driving around generally, so when you're going to go out and get LPG once every few days, anything to cut down on that LPG use we are taking full advantage of, and that's one of the things we do. So yeah, you can fully wire any socket or group of sockets or whatever back to your inverter just by putting a 3-pin plug on the end of that cable that you've got coming back in and putting that on the back of the inverter. And this is another video I've been asked to make, and I probably won't make this one either, and it's to do with cable sizes. And it says, I'm running a 12 volt only system in my camper van, no inverter, is 16mm cable okay? And again, I'm not going to make a video about this because yes, I could tell you the rating that you should put over each cable, but again, you can look that online on any website. It'll tell you about cable ratings. The main thing to do is to understand the appliances you're putting in, and to know everything about the appliances, whether that's an LED light, a USB socket, or it could be a fridge, compressor fridge or something like that. And once you know the load of those appliances, say for example your compressor fridge might be 10 to 12 amps, you can then work back what sort of cable size. Now as long as you only run one cable to that, then obviously you can make sure that the cable to that is perfectly well matched. If you try to kind of spider off that cable and join other things to it, then the load's going to increase, and you may well exceed the designed load of that cable by doing that. So it's all about knowing how many USB sockets, 12 volt sockets, and what you're going to plug into them, and LED lights and all the other things you're going to put down all these cables you're running. And the final question is about VSRs, charge relays, voltage sensing relays, whichever way you want to call it, split charge relay, versus a B2B. And this one has a kind of double-edged little question to it, and it says, I recently connected a solar controller to my battery. Now when the solar controller's on and I'm getting really good solar, it re-enables and engages the VSR that then starts to charge my vehicle battery. Is this right? And yeah, because a VSR, a cheap one anyway, just works on whichever voltage it recognises, no matter whether it's coming in from the leisure battery or in from the vehicle battery, and it just energizes, engages the relay, and that's all it's designed to do. There are relays out there that have a diode in them. That means the electric can only flow one way. So if your solar controller comes on at the leisure battery end, the relay basically just won't see any voltage off it that way, it'll just ignore it. That's one way around that. Another way is basically what I don't know, it's probably the better way these days, and that's a battery to battery charger. Why are they better? Well, they don't take as much load off your alternator, so that's a really good thing, and they basically upscale the power from your vehicle battery and then pump it into your leisure battery through really clever electronically wizardry. Basically it upscales the voltage and the amps, delivers a high rate of charge, whichever way you look at it. And it's a far better rate of charge, and a B2B will also have several stages of managing your battery, be it something called a bulk charge, so here's a bunch of power, or maybe it's doing something called absorption, which is, I see you're not taking a lot of charge but here's a little bit, and maybe a float charge, which is, I see you're fully charged so I'm going to give you a little bit of a trickle charge to keep you topped up. Some may have other levels, but those are the three basic ones. So I'd always suggest a B2B over just a straight split charge, but if you are going for a split charge relay, do get the ones with the diode in. So thanks very much for watching this week's episode. It's not going to be a live episode again for a while until YouTube sorts its act out. What I don't want to do is put all this information on a live stream and then when I hit end everything gets lost again. I did love the interaction with you all the other week, but I just want to see how YouTube's dealing with everything that's going on at the moment before I do it all again. And then my problem is, you know, a lot of you are sitting around there trying to wait for my video and YouTube's lost it again, or it's got corrupt, or it takes 3 days for them to process it at their end, so you don't get to see, you know, the high res version, or you don't get to see the chat replay and all that kind of stuff. So for now I'm just going to keep it as I used to, where it's pre-recorded and edited and uploaded, so everyone's nice and happy and sticking to the old-fashioned methods that work. Right, well, I hope you're having a good lockdown time. I hope you're healthy, safe and well, and we are doing fine here. Everything's okay with us. So thanks very much for everyone that has taken the time to check on us, make sure we're all right, and send nice comments. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next vlog. You take care now. Bye.